Mosaics of Ostia by me, Donovan Malone. First, I'm going to go into really what is a mosaic and what do they mean to the Empire of Rome. Obviously, the centerpiece of this project. A mosaic is a picture or pattern produced by arranging together small colored pieces of hard material such as stone, tile, or glass. The first ever recorded mosaics were actually composed in Greco-Roman art in 5th century BCE. Rome was the first civilization actually to perfect mosaic art, even though Greece was the first to actually use it in their culture. The Greeks redefined the art of figural mosaics by embedding pebbles in mortar. The Romans took this art form to the next level by using tesserae, cubes of stone, ceramic, or glass, to form intricate, colorful designs and little tiny pieces. This was really important because this allowed the Roman mosaics, especially like the ones at Ostia, to last so much longer than other mosaics made in the past in the Greek world or other empires. Polychrome patterns were the most common, but monochrome examples are known to be used. However, in Ostia, the ones that we would be focusing on are the polychrome patterns. The key points. Ostia divulges a precious view of everyday life in the ancient Roman world. Founded by King Anco Mariso in 7th century BCE to be Rome's harbor, by the time it fell into decay at the end of the empire, it had been embellished with incredible mosaics, both polychrome and black and white. The port of Rome, Ostia, served as an important military and commercial center that housed over 50,000 inhabitants at its height. It was one of, if not the biggest port in Rome's empire at its height. The wealth and the ethnic diversity of the city is reflected in the material remains. More than 1,000 statues, mosaics, reliefs, and sarcophagi survive on this site to this date. They depict geometric designs, flowers, animals, portraits of the gods, mythological creatures, and daily life in the Roman Empire. As you can see, here are some of the mosaics shown here. The one on the left is a wealthy man being pulled by a chariot. The Romans in Ostia would have mosaics pretty much for anything under the sun. It was not just a thing to look pretty on the ground in their town square. They also were symbols. They also were signs for shops, just like we have signs above our buildings, or we have codes that tell us our address. It would be ways for Romans to know, hey, this is my market, this is my meat market, this is the baths, this is the store, whatever under the sun. And it was all throughout the city. There were mainly ones in the city center, obviously, because that's what they looked after the most. But as you go throughout the city, it's in almost every church, in the baths. They're honestly very incredible. This is the next one's the main corridor and the Piazza degli outside the Corporation. Oh, I'm sorry, I messed up that slide there. The outside's supposed to be before Piazza. And the last one is the Baths of Neptunes, which depict Neptune being ridden by a hippocampi on a chariot, fighting a battle with all these sea creatures around him. More mosaics we see here. Like I said earlier, the mosaics in Ostia would be for anything. Would be for signs, but also would show decoration and show the wealth of some areas of the city. This one right here is an amphora between two palm trees. All of these pictures were taken out in the form of corporations. So basically where all the businesses are and all the ships and things like that. Whenever in Ostia, you'll find gods, goddesses, and fantastical sea creatures. like you see here, which is also very interesting, because like the fact that in some of the mosaics they even depict a boxer, and in Roman society at the time, having fame for things like that was more of a Greek culture. In terms of the Olympics, it was known to be less popular if you actually receive notoriety for your boxing and put yourself out there. So it was interesting how some of these mosaics were made and some of the Greek influence into these mosaics. The next one is Putti rides a dolphin, and most of these next to the form of corporations are right outside near the port. That's why you see a lot of these having to deal with the water and the sea and sea goddesses and Venus and Neptune. It was just mainly to showcase the city and what it was about. Ostia was Rome's most important port. Many of the mosaics demonstrate importance of commerce at this once bustling city. Some terrific ones are at the Forum of Corporations, which are all of these located behind the theater. This is where corporations, ship owners, importers, grain traders, even wild importers had their shops indicated their business in mosaic out front. Even one of the cool things is the elephant you see down there is a mosaic in front of a merchant who would bring in such beasts and wild animals for Roman games such as the Colosseum. And obviously the other ones you see are just decorations. 2 baskets being weighed at the market center. They have ship sails near the lighthouse, the dock of Ostia, and then Venus rises out of the sea. The significance of the mosaics. They were used for decoration and to show people how rich you were, especially for the store owners. Roman mosaics were very strong surfaces to walk on, and they were sometimes used for signs for advertising. Roman mosaics were waterproof and easy to clean. This made mosaics very popular in public buildings and Roman bathhouses. One of the most important things in life Rome did today was perfect bathing. Other than used for getting clean, the Romans used baths to be a place where many, mostly the rich, could socialize with each other. Friends would meet up at baths to talk, have meals. Sometimes men would hold business meetings and discuss politics. That's how serious and integrated the baths were into their society. It was basically like going out to get something to eat. You would go to the baths. You would even take food to the baths to eat with your friends. There was a fee to get into public baths. The fee was generally pretty small. Even the poor could afford to go at some places. Sometimes the baths would be free, as a politician or emperor would pay for the public to attend to obviously win the city over to get their vote. A lot of emperors would, if they were going through a city, especially if they were coming back from a campaign, would have their soldiers all be in and get bathed together. It is a way for people just to come together. However, the baths of Neptunes were public baths. Wealthy people sometimes had their own private baths inside their homes. These could be quite expensive. They had to pay the government for the amount of water they use. Even if a wealthy person had their own baths, they still likely used public baths in order to socialize and meet people because it was such a big part of their society. The baths of Neptune. The baths of Neptune were commissioned by Hadrian in the late 1st century AD. The mosaic floor gives a glimpse of what was integral to the Roman identity. The mosaics in the baths show how important this ritual was for the Roman people. The mosaics depicted a god depicts Neptune, the sea god, and many other marine creatures, dictating the baths to the gods, dedicating the baths to the gods. It further shows how important religion and religious imagery is to the Roman people. They got water into their baths by building aqueducts to carry fresh water from lakes or rivers into their city. Roman engineers constantly monitored the water levels in aqueducts to make sure that there was enough water for the city and the baths. Even the underground pipes, even had underground pipes and sewage systems. Wealthy people were able to have running water in their homes. This is why Rome is so. This is why Rome is credited with the aqueduct system and how much it propelled us today as a people and as a society in the world. They were able to have running water in their own homes in the 5th century AD. And these are my citations for the project. But lastly, I just want to go into one more thing. One could easily guess what life was like in Ostia a long time ago, and see how important the life of the sea, especially fish, was to merchants who lived and worked there. The pictures of sea creatures, ships, fishing activities, markets are so remarkable and well preserved that they look like they were made from recent past, especially from the pictures I see. Most surprisingly of all, perhaps, are the pictures of elephants and boars and tigers, which I went over earlier, where the merchants would bring in these wild exotic animals for the gladiators to fight in the Roman Colosseums. And I believe this is one of the coolest Roman cities that I've ever looked into, other than Rome, Italy itself. It is a fantastic read, and I hope to look into it further.